Hey everyone, this is Belinda Carr. Welcome back to the Boost AC podcast, where we dive into the world of construction and explore the stories of people and companies who are shaping the future of our industry. We've got yet another exciting podcast for you today. I'm speaking with Enrico Bonilauri, CEO and co-founder of Emu Passive. Thanks for joining us, Enrico.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I came across your company, Emu Passive, I think about 4 years ago, like early COVID, when I was really passionate about, when I was learning everything I could about building science and passive house construction. And I first came across FIAS, which is based in Chicago. And then your company, Emu, offers professional training, consulting services, and analysis of building envelopes. So I'm very excited to learn more about what you do, because it seems like you've been spreading the word about passive house construction all around the world. You started in Italy, you went to Australia, and now you're based in Colorado. So tell us how you started Emu Passive.
So it's been a nice, interesting journey, really. I'm a native of Italy. That's where I'm from. That's where I was born and raised. And I've always loved construction. My grandfather on my mom's side was a carpenter, and I loved him, and I always was drawn to construction because of that. And on the other side, my dad was a CPA and investment advisor. So math on one side and construction on the other side. I landed in between, going to architecture school in Italy, where I got my first master's degree in architecture. And I'm still registered as an architect in Italy to this day. In that time, I lived in Germany for about a year. I went to a very technical school in southern Germany, where I learned more about building science and construction technology. Then after that, I moved to Australia, where I got my second master's degree in sustainable design. And I met my former business partner and co-founder of Emu, Mariana Pickering. So we started Emu about 15 years ago. Emu is just a bird. It's not an acronym. That is something that people ask us, oh, it's Enrico, Mariana, and you. No, it's not. It's just a bird.
You have a very, very
People,
cool explanation of why you chose Emu on your website.
yes, yes. You dug up some pages that sometimes on some days I'm like, oh, I wish that was hidden better. We were looking for a name that was translatable to different countries, that was short, and was not necessarily straightly related to architecture. In fact, we started off as Emu Architects, or Emu Architetti back home in Italy, and the company was an architecture practice for 7 or 8 years. So we have that experience. And at some point, 8 years in, you kind of know what the business is like. And so we asked ourselves, are we doing enough in swinging the needle and creating an impact in the market? And at that time, we were doing, 3, 4 high-end custom projects a year. We had our niche, but really we felt we did not have the impact we wanted to on the construction industry. That is when we decided to move to the US. We chose Colorado for a number of reasons, and I love it here. But also we
Was
decided to,
that was around 10 years ago, 10 to 15, I think?
I'm in 2016, 2017,
2016.
so
Okay.
7 or 8 years
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. Yeah, we decided to stop designing buildings, and we just decided to focus on education. We really thought that providing education was a faster and better way, a more impactful way to bring innovation and change into the market. If you're able to change people, then you're going to have a more lasting and impactful change in the market.
Was it
And
difficult for you to do that? Because now Passive House is getting a lot more popular, but back in 2015, not many people knew about the term.
yeah, the market has changed a lot. Back in 2015, 2016, you had to explain what passive house is. Now you no longer do. It is almost as common as LEED or green building, you know. So now we just say we do passive house and we really focus on training. We do a little bit of consulting to support builders and professionals that take our training. And we do that because we teach builders. Our curriculum needs to be current, needs to be up to speed with new products, with new challenges in the market. So we do keep the consulting side as a way to have kind of a teaching hospital. So like the majority of what we do is training, but we also have a side clinic, so to speak,
In
where,
Colorado?
well, we have projects from coast to coast.
Coast. Okay.
And, yeah, we have projects from Maine to California, from Florida to Oregon, you name it. We just, it's something that we don't promote as much because it is more closely tied to our bandwidth and we have a small team.
Because your team has to travel to that project location, take all the materials with you, train people. You'll probably
Right.
have to set up assemblies on the job site too to explain how materials come together, right?
Well, we have a training on wheels, so we have a heated set of training material that we take around the country. We were in Boston and New York just now, just in the spring. We are going to be in Colorado, Montana, and California before the end of the year. We have been Oregon, Texas, Maine. We've been many places.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Something that I love about teaching is all the questions we get, the challenges. It's a way for us to grow. So I really like to meet people and get new questions and new challenges every time.
Can you walk us through your training course? Like, if is a builder that approaches you that knows nothing about passive house construction, but their client has asked them to build a passive house structure, how do you teach them?
Well, in the first place, we have once a month, we have a free info session every first Thursday of the month. There's a link in our newsletter if people want to sign up. Every first Thursday of the month, 3 p.m. Mountain Time, we have a free info session where anyone can come in for free and ask questions. Just having that access, we see that helps eliminating the fear of the unknown. Then training is the key part of understanding what you are required to do. And we offer the same 2 days course in person or online. So online, we used to do it just in person. And then COVID hit.
And
And
required you to change your business model.
yeah, and I literally spent 2 weeks in a semi-abandoned building in the mountains of Colorado recording all of our curriculum. It was very creepy, I'm not gonna lie. It was the first weeks of COVID where everybody was creeped out and like, don't touch me, stay away. Those days, I was in a building from the early 1900s where it was very squeaky, very quiet. So every mouse like squeak, zombies.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
But
so
that's what you had to do to keep the business running. You had to
yeah,
record all your courses, your every single part of your shoot. I'm losing my train of thought now. But that's what you had to do to keep your business running. You had to turn from a in-person model to a completely virtual model, and you've kept
right.
it virtual since then.
Well, yes and no. We have online training that covers the theory, so to speak. That is what is cheapest to do. So you don't have to travel. You can take it on your own time. It's self-paced. We have some live Q&A sessions because you know and self-paced content is only as good as what answers you get. So we have those integrated, but also we have the option to take the same curriculum as the first 2 days of the boot camp. Now the boot camp is the 1 week that we come to a location, say Dallas or Denver or New York, and the first 2 days is the theory, is the same content that you can take either online or you can come in person. And then the second 2 days of the boot camp is the hands-on part where we divide people up into groups, into teams, and they have to compete with each other to build the most airtight and insulated passive pod. The passive pod is miniature homes. They're like about 7 foot tall, 4 feet wide, 4 feet long, that mimic all the aspects of an actual building. We designed them to have both commercial and residential details. They get to install an actual triple pane tilting tone window. So it's like a three-dimensional textbook, but
And you provide all the materials to everyone who
yes.
comes in. Got it.
Yeah. That is part of our kit. We have a big trailer that we drive around the country to do that. It's a very good way to also meet other locals that want to do the same kind of project. So you start your own community. We always have a social event with it because we're trying to help local communities build a village, really. So whenever we go, we try to also have a social aspect to connect people, because once you get into your first few projects, you will need those people to either supply you with materials or help with detailing or install your windows, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So we try to help build those communities, and we work with a lot of local groups to do so.
Have you communicated with Passive House Accelerator up in Boston?
Yeah. I presented for the accelerator maybe a month ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Now they're good friends. And I've known Zach and Mike for a long time.
They're they're newer than y'all are, but they're trying to do the same thing, build a community over there where it's just an open session. Anyone can ask questions about how to build better, learn about Passive House. It's a similar mindset, but y'all are in a way more established because y'all started a long time ago.
Yeah, we started as a company 15 years ago. As a training company, we started 7 or 8 years ago. We've trained over 1,000 people in the US. So there's a growing community.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And so you have I assume, a remote team spread all across the US that travels whenever they need to?
Yes. In fact, we are hiring right now for a couple of positions. We are really thinking of my team right now. We are really Colorado, Wyoming, and New York. That is out of just finding the right people, and then Joe lives in Wyoming, and so now we have Wyoming. So we try to be pretty flexible. We do have an office, which right now nobody goes to. It is 1 hour away from everyone. And we are probably going to move to a venue in Denver, potentially where we can do the training in-house.
Oh, that's exciting. I have to ask you, as an educational platform, I assume there's a lot of updates. You'll have to constantly be up to date on changes to the code, building codes, Passive House codes, and you also mentioned earlier new building products that come to the market every single year that can qualify for Passive House credits.
Mm-hmm. That is correct. We get a lot of new projects all the time. We try to build Passive House in actual projects when suitable, using products that are not necessarily pre-certified because it makes it cheaper. We have a project right now in California. They are trying to use a very regular door for the entry door, and California is pretty forgiving as a climate. We need to, that door is not certified. We are reviewing a bunch of documents because if there's no certification, means that we need to dig up more data. But yeah, that is why we have a consulting team. It's a way for our training to be up to speed with what is new. The last thing we want is a training curriculum for builders that is only theoretical, and that it could be extremely bad. We are very hands-on with the project that we consult on, and so consequently also with our curriculum.
So does your curriculum cater both towards Passive House Institute, which I think is based in Germany, and to FIAS, which I believe is based in Chicago?
Yeah.
So y'all teach towards both certifications?
We have started with teaching the international curriculum we started in Europe. Our curriculum is also licensed in Australia because we put a lot of effort in researching how to apply passive hours to different climate zones. So in Australia, they adopted our curriculum because it is more suitable for their climates and their trades. Now, our hands-on part qualifies as continued education for consultants and designers as well for PHI, for the international one. I don't know. We have builders, we have people that take the fuse training all the time, and then they come to us for the hands-on part. The hands-on part that we have is probably the most advanced in the country. I believe that may qualify for their continued education units. I'm not positive how the process may work.
Got it. So they come to you after they may have received a FIAS certification.
Correct, because fields just like other institutions offer a lot of online training,
They do, yeah.
but we Emu specifically and only teach builders. Well, we teach builders, we teach architects, but we don't teach the consultant part. We teach the more integrated design build part, which has a part that is hands-on. That is why we have our trailer. We take it around the country, and we have the online that you can take online, but we recommend that you then come in person to take the hands-on part.
Is there a memorable project you or your team has worked on, not just in the States, maybe it was in Australia, maybe it was in Europe, where a builder or a client was stuck and wasn't able to receive passive house certification, and you came to them with a certain unique creative solutions that managed to push them across that finish line?
There's a number of them. We've been doing passive house for 15 years. We've been around the block a minute. I can think of my first project when I was the passive house consultant for the first time, and that was kind of scary because it was a school. So it's complex in terms of occupancy, different shifts. They have a commercial kitchen. They had a gym hall. So that was complex. That was a complex project for me personally. I learned a lot from that. We have different projects. Like sometimes it's easy to get something wrong. For example, just the coating that you apply on the glass allows more or less sunlight and energy in, and that is very important because if you are in Dallas like you are, you want to have a certain strategy versus the same exact building, but you plop that into Denver, then you want to have a very different strategy. And just the coating on the glass, which basically costs nothing, there's almost no cost difference, has a tremendous impact on the summer performance and the winter performance. We got called in on a few projects where they were doing the passive house principles, but nobody had done the modeling, and they were about to get that very wrong for the project because just one of the biggest issues I see with the American market is we are so dependent on prescriptive approaches. Or you have your R49 insulation at the ceiling, your U value, blah, 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 check, 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 and this is your stamp, this is your certificate. And it works with very low performing buildings. So if your expectation is not very high, then fine, get the badge. But if you're trying to actually make a difference, we need an energy analysis because I cannot tell you. I just made a joke about in Dallas, you need in a certain type of coating, but I actually don't know because it depends on where in Dallas, what type of building you have,
So
what orientation
specific.
you have. And so even in climates that are supposedly easy, like, oh, Dallas, hot, but we don't know. Like I presented in Austin, Texas, a couple of weeks ago at the Hot and Humid Climate Conference, and I brought an example of a project we had in that city, very hot and humid climate, but depending on how people chose to run the interior temperatures for cooling at 70 degrees or 74 degrees, that had a very big impact on the strategy to optimize whether or not to insulate the building at the slab. So, and that's something that swings thousands of dollars and thousands of tons of CO2 emissions as well as kilowatt hour. And on paper, you just don't know, So that is the biggest issue I see with getting to any level of high performance in the US.
Teaming
Possible
up,
or
yeah.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. So teaming up. So your advice for people would be team up with an energy analysis expert that is local
Correct.
to where your project is located.
Correct. It basically, if you want to make informed decisions, you need to have better data. And building code is not prescriptive building codes. They just don't provide that. If you think about that, a prescriptive building code is when you have an answer ready before you even ask the question. And if you think about communication, if you already know the answer before the
There's
question is
something
asked,
terribly wrong with that. Yeah.
correct, you are not a very good communicator. So my advice is to formulate the question, which is your design and your goals, and then with the support of the energy analysis, get to making informed decisions. That is my advice.
That's pretty profound, Enrico.
Thank you.
Have you considered bringing that energy analysis portion into your business, like offering that as a consulting service?
We do that. We use the Passive House software PHPP to allow projects to make informed decisions. That is the part of the consulting that I mentioned earlier. That is how we get our hands dirty in actual projects. Our capacity is limited, so we try to keep it on the down low in a way. But I'm always a big proponent of basically the industry stepping up to the next level, which is using science to make decisions. There's very little science in how decisions are made in the construction industry at this time.
Are you involved in codes, building codes when they're written or updated and all that stuff? Do you have a say in that, or are you trying to get in with the right people so you are able to bring these like excellent concepts that you have into the outdated and archaic US building codes?
Yeah, we'd rather focus on research.
Okay.
We'd rather focus on getting actual projects built and monitored, collect the data, draw our conclusions, and bring that to the scientific community. I am not one for politics and trade-offs, and I don't have time for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd rather geek out on why we do certain things and try to see the impact, and then leave that more nuanced conversations for someone else that is more soft in their approaches.
As not as maybe as harsh as you might be with them.
Well, I was raised by wolves. I'm used to deal with builders. For 8 years I was on job sites every single day with Italian contractors that were not necessarily like, I love Italian contractors, I love all of them, but you need to grow some hair on your chest if you want to be listened to. At that time I was less than 30 years old, and I definitely got some ageist approaches, and I had to stand and like defend myself. So that, I'm used to, that's why I love dealing with builders. There's not much shenanigans to talk about. It either works or it doesn't. And in navigating code writing and update,
So much gray area, so many people you
yes,
need to appease, and
so many toes you can step on.
Yep.
And I have very large feet. So I'd rather do the research and then leave the toe cuddling to someone else.
So what are the future plans for Emu or Emu Passive, your business? Are you looking to grow your team in the near future? Because I'm sure, as we talked about in the beginning of this conversation, the demand for passive house construction is going to keep increasing as people get more aware of it.
Yes, we have two main goals at the moment. One is to grow the team in a way that is consistent with our goals as well as with our culture. I'm very excited about every single person on the team right now. I think we have an excellent team, and I don't want to ruin that. We are very careful in our interview process. We do personality tests with new hires because we really want to have a good match. And then on the other side, we're really trying to weave and connect with local interest groups, Passive House, BSMBL, Green Building, to help spread the knowledge and spread the science, show that it is possible, and then eventually bring training locally so you can help grow the community.
Yeah.
So that is our inward and outward goals at the
Goals.
moment.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing Emu become more popular and hopefully change the way we build in this country, because there's so much room for improvement. Um, and on a completely different note, I love how you have navigated your career, because I have a degree in architecture too, and I was extremely frustrated with the way things were done in the architecture world, both on the inside the office and even the way architects are perceived by the construction community. And I have tried to find an alternative path using the base skills that I learned in school or in the architecture office. I'm trying to find an alternative path in construction education through YouTube, through social media, a way to educate myself and a way to educate the rest of the community too. And I love that you have kind of done the same thing, but you've taken it to a different level. You found your niche, and you've grown so passionate about this topic, about passive house construction, and you're spreading the word of it. I applaud you, I guess, and on what
Thank
you
you.
have
Thank you.
achieved.
Appreciate it.
So,
Yeah.
what advice would you have for a young person, either with an architecture background or not, that wants to help the AEC community build better?
That's a very good question. My opinion is very like Confucius. If you find something that you love, you will never work a day in your life. Like I
Do you
mentioned
truly
research,
believe that?
I do. I do. Because I have a whole library of building standards that most people would find so extremely boring. I love them, and it's different ways to see how mankind has understood of the world that surrounds us. And that is my take. And I have another research project. We just published a big research project last year comparing passive house to different building codes.
Is that on your
And
website?
it is. It is available for free download on our website. If you look for white papers and research papers, that is available. And there's another one that is more related to how we test materials and products, especially windows, insulation materials, heat pumps. And it's basically looking at the climate data and population in the US. And that may be a PhD research project for some. It's something I'm gonna do on a Sunday, for me. So if you find something that you are passionate about, you're gonna learn all about it. You're gonna become an expert in doing that. People are gonna come to you because you're an expert in it, and you're gonna be able to put in the hours that are needed to make a career out of it. But you will not feel the weight of doing so because you love it. So if you find something that you really love, it's gonna make all the difference because you also need to make money, of course, but that's gonna make a big difference in you wanted to learn that, you being able to get in the very detailed, finer things that most people skip over, that makes you an expert, really. And then people will find you because of that.
I used to believe that back in like 2016 when I first started this journey
Mm-hmm.
of starting an independent contract business and learning everything I could that I wasn't taught. But then as I grew older and grew more jaded, the financial side of it, like you mentioned earlier, turning that passion into something financially lucrative, that
Yes.
because at the end of the day you need to pay the bills. You can
Yes.
be
Yes.
passionate about a topic, but how do you turn that into something that is sustainable in the long run for you and your family. So that's where it gets tricky. That's where the hard work comes in, the constant
It
long
does.
hours. Yeah.
I think these days, look at yourself. You become an expert and very popular on social media. These days, we have so many ways to get out there, and if if you're passionate, that passion will transpire through material. People get passionate or get excited just witnessing
Listening
that.
to you. Yeah.
And then with social media, you can make a name and a position for yourself. So these days, compared to 20, 30 years ago, the market is much more open for this. Again, you have to have something that is the people are looking for. Or if you're so far ahead that people will get to that in 30 years, you're going to have a hard time. But um, there are, it's a big world out there. There
Yeah.
are
And
so
like you
many,
correct.
yeah,
And a lot more avenues, a lot more ways to learn stuff that you just weren't able to 20 years ago. So I
yes,
guess if you're a young person, take advantage of that
yeah,
because there's never been a better time to be more educated than right now.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there are ways to, to get your word out there, to do your research, but also if you start creating content, you're going to start collecting followers. Something that I wish I did 10 years ago was to get on YouTube earlier, honestly. I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, which is awesome, but it's a very different audience.
Demographic audience, correct.
Yeah. So, and then something I'm learning to do right now, we communicate with people that take our training. We use that even just to let people know about what we do better. This morning I published a 20 seconds video about the workshop. People loved it. It went very popular, and I actually published just because I need to send that via an email. So okay, let's put it on YouTube. And these tools were hardly there 20 years ago.
I need to watch that. I need to follow your channel and watch that. And I'll definitely provide a link to sign up to your newsletter in the
Awesome.
description. Thank you so much, Enrico, for sharing all your passions and sharing your story with us. I'm looking forward to seeing your company grow, and I hope to have you back on the podcast sometime in the future.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.